barbershop conversation, guys. Feel free to hit the subscribe button. I watched Tickets, Town, and the Boxing Clinic's video on the ratings, and it came in at 690. Mixed reviews on it, but I'll say this: those numbers are right on the line with Earl Spence. You can give or take a few. I know Sean came in at roughly 500,000 against Andre Berto. But at the end of the day, he came in, I forget, but he was on the Deontay Wilder card, so that may be a bit skewed. And Earl Spence came in at like 724K against Ocampo. Now, we all know Earl Spence is trending up, and Sean Porter is like even, per se. And there are several things moving forward as it relates to this fight. Should it be on pay-per-view? Sean Porter is a great kid. I don't think he's the kind of kid that can push a pay-per-view. Earl Spence is a great kid. I don't think he has the consistent behavior to push a pay-per-view. You understand where I'm coming from? Because at the end of the day, it has to be about the fighters. I don't think Derek James is the guy to promote a pay-per-view, and I don't think Kenny Porter is the guy to promote a pay-per-view. I think that this fight is one of them fights that they should put on Fox, similar to where they did Keith Thurman, Danny Garcia. They put them on CBS. Was it March of last year? March 3rd or March 2nd, if I'm not mistaken. And I thought that was an extraordinary plan to propel everyone's profile. Now, the winner of this fight, if it's Earl Spence, becomes on his way to becoming a megastar. If Sean Porter wins this fight, he's not a megastar. He is the most respected man in boxing. And I think that's the realities of each of them. I don't think Sean has the personality to become a mega star. Now, becoming a mega star and making mega bucks are two different things. We've seen what happened to Timothy Bradley. Jesus doesn't sell in terms of pay-per-views. It sells in terms of character. Sean would have to delve into the roughest times of his life on the mean streets of Ohio to connect with a lot of, because 70% of America is living paycheck to paycheck, per se. That's what the statistics say. So he would have to delve into that because he doesn't have the personality where I have this, I have that, like Conor McGregor and Floyd Mayweather. He would have to touch people on a personal level. Can he consistently do that? I'm uncertain of that because he doesn't post on social media every day. I think now is the time where Sean needs to start posting every day to build his profile. And Earl Spence needs to. Earl Spence is definitely more contemporary. He has the urban jewelry. He hangs out with Adrian Broner and per se. So he has the ability to promote better than Sean, but not at the level where it can do 500,000 pay-per-view buys. And I don't know what the median is for profit on a pay-per-view. I think it should be on Fox. I think it would do well over 1.2, 1.3 million views, easy. I think that's an easy sell, and the winner will have an amazing future. You know, the winner of that fight walks through the welterweight division. Not easy, but they'll win UD, things like that. And they'll be the man in boxing, especially if the Deontay Wilder, Anthony Joshua doesn't fight. Now, the boxing clinic, CJ mentioned something about it being a limited platform. It is in terms of numbers. You're absolutely right. And that's another reason why I wouldn't want it to be on pay-per-view, because I think now is the time where Sean has to capitalize. And they're probably thinking of pay-per-view in terms of capitalize. I don't think so, because they're not promoting the card. You understand what I'm saying? I think it would be a Richard Schaefer type of event, especially if it's in Vegas. I could see Tom Brown and Richard Schaefer splitting that. Obviously, Man Down Promotions will be a part of it. Sean Porter has a promotion company, but I have yet to see them put on a card. I know they have fighters, but they haven't put on a card yet, so I'm uncertain of how that will work. But that's the business side of it. And I was looking at some dates. Let me tell you guys some dates. Let's see. I was looking at some dates, and The Super Bowl is February 3rd, 2019. So I would think somewhere around February 9th or February 16th would be an ideal date for this fight to occur, because you don't want to bleed into March Madness. You can't compete with March Madness. You can try, but it ain't going to work. You got a guy like me who loves boxing, but if Duke is playing in the Elite Eight against Kansas in the Elite Eight, I'm watching Duke Kansas in the Elite Eight. That's just who I am as a person. You understand what I'm saying? On that Saturday night, it's just, no, I would TiVo a boxing match and watch the Elite Eight, because it's too much at stake for me. And I know I'll be covering the fight, but I'm talking about my profile. I'm talking about me included, but I'll be at the fight. So I'm a mute point, but I'm talking about a person's profile. There are more basketball fans than boxing fans, and you're forcing them to make a decision. So I think somewhere around February 9th or February 16th will be a great time to have this fight. I mean, to have this fight. It makes a whole lot of sense. I appreciate the person who sent me the Kenny Porter interview on the Boxing Voice. He said Sean only wants to fight once a year, and the longer they wait, the more it is enticing for them to fight their mandatory, because Earl Spence calendar wouldn't line up, and that would be the problem. So it's two-pronged. Showtime wants this fight. PBC wants this fight. I told you guys I put 3 or 4 conversations together while I was in New York, and I've come to the conclusion that forget Showtime, forget the networks. PBC wants this fight, and I think it's a great fight. I think it's a great look. So yeah, man, let me know what you guys think about this. Check the dates. Let me know if that makes sense, because you're free and clear of Deontay Wilder. People have maybe a month and a half if they do the pay-per-view route. I would say the pay-per-view does about 200,000, 250,000. Just because maybe Jerry Jones can push it a little bit. If the pay-per-view, that's a good question. Would the pay-per-view do better in Texas, or would it do better in Vegas? That's a great question to ask. I don't know that it will or that it won't, because that entire region would buy the pay-per-view. From the Omaha, Oklahoma, Texas. What's next to Texas? Mississippi? I don't know. I don't know. You guys tell me what's next to Mississippi. What's next to Texas? What's east of Texas? Louisiana, that whole belt. That would do well. And I don't know. I'm perplexed, but I'm not smarter than Al Heyman, but I would do CBS would be my primary option. And if I'm Earl Spence and if I'm Sean Porter, I would want that. I would ask them to give me $500,000 more dollars or $1 million more dollars. I would negotiate up as opposed to negotiating down on both their parts. If it does CBS, if it does mainstream CBS, because they'll get buku dollars for that as it relates to sponsors and everything else, it being on national TV. I would ask. I don't know what the pay rate is for these guys, so that's it. I definitely would do that. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section. I like the date. Would you want it to be on nationwide free TV like CBS? Or like Fox, excuse me. Or would you want it to be on pay-per-view? See, I don't know the money split, so I don't think they would make more money on pay-per-view. See, so you got to play that in, because there's no guarantee. I don't think they would give you a guarantee. The guarantee will be much less than the guarantee if it's not on pay-per-view. So, similar to like Andre Ward, where he got a guarantee with an upside on the pay-per-view. So, but let me know what you guys think. I think in terms of boxing, everyone in boxing will be tuned into this fight. This fight makes a whole lot of sense. As I said, if it's not Spence, it don't make sense. You understand what I'm saying? if Sean Porter fights is mandatory, that would be a terrible look for Sean. That it just wouldn't make sense. It makes sense financially. They're going to make $1 million probably off their mandatory, but the respect will be completely gone. I mean, when I say, oh man, and I definitely wouldn't want that to happen to Sean. Kids works too hard to get in the position that he's in. So, obviously, Sean, we all know Sean is the underdog in this fight. If I'm a betting man and the odds are close, if the odds are close, I'm putting my real money on Earl Spence. So if it's the odds of 3-1, I would bet. I honestly would bet $3,000 to win 1,000. If it's 300-1, right? And then I would throw $200 on Sean Porter because the odds would be crazy. So I would throw $200 on Sean, and I would put $3,000 on Earl Spence. And if that's called hedging your bet, so I would make $800 if Earl Spence won at 300-1, and I don't know what it would be if Sean won. I don't know what those odds would be, but those would be astronomical numbers. You get what I'm saying? So that's kind of what I would do. I would play with those numbers, and that's where it would go. Sean definitely will be a live underdog. You understand what I'm saying? We've never seen Earl Spence truly uncomfortable in the ring. We've seen him uncomfortable in terms of location. I don't think he's been really, really in deep water. Earl Spence, Kell Brook tested him, but I knew the end was coming. I didn't think for one bit that Kell Brook was going to win that fight. I picked Earl Spence to win that fight, and that's where we're at. So, but that's where I'm at. No pay-per-view. CBS is the way to go. Numbers would be ridiculous. Everyone and their mama would be at this fight. Every PBC fighter. I would assume Terrence Crawford would be at that fight. I would assume every. I think that's the fight that brings out the NFL players, the NBA players if they're in town, if they have the fight, or if they're close enough to catch a private jet. I could see LeBron James showing up to this fight. I definitely could see like a Dak Prescott showing up. Dez doesn't play. Who does Dez play for now? I haven't been keeping up with the NFL. So around those realms. So I would say everyone is right. I watched Ticket Town and I watched the Boxing Clinic. I would say everyone is right. The pay-per-view should be 50-50 like Ticket say. I believe the Boxing Clinic said they're not a star. Neither one of them is a star yet, is a crossover star. They're popular, and Earl Spence is more of a star in boxing than Sean Porter. But I don't think he can leverage that to getting 60-40 in a pay-per-view. To a novice fan that just started watching boxing, it was 60-40. But I think Sean Porter deserves 50-50 if it does pay-per-view. Just being realistic, just being pragmatic. That has nothing to do with who I think Sean Porter would win the fight, but that's what I feel about it. I think Kenny Porter will be doing his son a disservice by having him wait till the summer to fight. I mean, huge disservice because champions don't do that. It just doesn't happen that way. I would want to get into the ring. I would do a deal with Earl Spence. So here's what I would do. I would call Earl Spence camp and say, how close are you with the Mikey Garcia fight? And if they say, well, we're about 70% there. And I say, we'll do a verbal agreement to fight each other in June or July. But if Sean Porter is sitting that long, I think he hurts his brand. Because the fans are gonna get mad at him. The fans are gonna get angry at him, and you don't want that to happen. So I would reach out to each other's camp and see if you're fighting Mikey Garcia. Yes, then I'll go fight Ugas. You go fight Ugas, you get your mandatory out the way because you have a year, and you have to make that announcement public. You can't do it privately. You negotiate private, but when you guys agree, you guys come out with the same language. We agreed to, because I'm fighting Earl Spence maybe leads the conversation to get off of Sean Porter's back. Hey, I'm fighting Mikey Garcia in February, and we both have agreed to fight each other in August. or this summer. We both have agreed to fight each other this summer. And we already know the dates because the dates are going to be pinned in because these Fox dates and Showtime dates gotta put a down payment on the arena because basketball is running rampant, so they gotta put in their request for that date. So we'll know the first 6-month dates already. So, but let me know what you guys think about that. I think that makes sense. That's the only way I believe Sean Porter can get in a voluntary defense without the boxing public coming in on him. Because at the end of the day, I would say it's like 75-25, maybe 80-20 as it relates, as I feel it on YouTube and interact with people that they believe Sean Porter is ducking Earl Spence. So that's the way to go. But let me know what you guys think, man. Barbershop Conversations. Feel free, hit the subscribe button. And talk to you guys real soon. Peace.